Item 7, consent agenda. The administration presents the following items for approval under the consent agenda. Mr. Chabot, would you read the minute or the disbursements?
Payroll, teacher and non-teacher, $2,253,946.07. Operational disbursements of $3,533,556.51 for a grand total of $5,787,502.58.
You can tell it's July. I need a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I move we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Schrader and seconded by Mr. Martinez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Summer school report. Dr. Winkles, Mr. Cole, Weitzel.
Good evening. I'm going to give a brief recap of the elementary summer programs that were implemented. Our district-wide program was the Elementary Summer Math and Reading Tutorial, or SMART program. This program focused on students who were at risk for retention. So we had 120 students on our retention list. The program was designed as an intervention to keep those students from being retained in their current grade levels. The program originally set to begin Johnson-Wabash with the storm. We lost the day of the program. We were able to do everything in one day. Got it? We were able to move to Duchesne, lost just one day of the program. With Robin Witherspoon, the principal of Johnson-Wabash, was running the day-to-day program at Duchesne. It was a 4-week program, Monday through Friday, and every student received free breakfast and free lunch. We ended up with 97 students attending K through 6 with 7 classrooms, 1 full-time nurse, 1 full-time counselor, building administrator, and then you see our non-certified staff for the summer program. One of the things that was a little different for summer school this year was we contracted with American Reading Company to purchase a reading program for summer, so that allowed us to have leveled classroom libraries in all of our classrooms. Teachers did running records to match students with their reading level. We also have professional development from American Reading Company. On the math side, we had our regular summer school, our regular math curriculum. We had a local math coordinator. We had some modified summer curriculum map, pre-test to drive instruction, and then Kevin did that professional development. You can see the growth at the bottom. It's a little hard to see in the blue, but average growth was about 2 months growth for reading and about 4 months growth in math. Our total expenditures, you see the left side was what we had budgeted, the right side was what we actually expended. One key piece here is, and that instructional material piece was a one-time purchase, so we'll have level libraries used every summer for our summer school program moving forward. Our other summer school program was the 21st Century Summer Program. It was an extension of the summer the program through 4 after-school programs during the year for Walnut Grove and Duchesne students. We had 41 students grades 3 through 6. There were non-retention candidates, students that needed some extra summer work or weren't on the retention list. 4 classroom teachers, a lead teacher, and instructional aide. And it was core academics and enrichment activities, and also had some parent involvement activities as well. That's the recap of elementary. Questions? I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Weitzel.
For the secondary summer school program, I'll talk about middle school first. Middle school, we had to, if you're familiar with how we used to do our summer school program, we had to modify it a little bit this year because we did a 50% reduction in the budget. So we did 2 weeks for 7th grade and then 2 weeks for 8th grade. We still wanted to service the same number of students because they are they're retention candidates. So we wanted to provide them an opportunity to be able to attend summer school to not be retained for the next grade. They went all day for the first 2 weeks of 7th grade, and like I said, second 2 weeks, 8th grade. Our location was Wedgwood Elementary School. We partnered with the extended school year for special school district in that program, so we weren't using an additional space as well. And the program goal was providing instruction in the core key subjects. So they had, there was PE was a course that we used to offer, and that was one of our budget reductions as well. So it was just to focus on the four core subjects. The coordinators assisted with that by looking at the curriculum map and then condensing it much like elementary to what they should focus on for that summer program. So here's a snapshot of the students that attended the summer school program, that were enrolled, those that were dropped, and those that were completed. As you can see, all of the students that remained in the program did pass it successfully and were promoted to the next grade. There's another component that we have for our middle school program. It's called High School Opportunity, and we had 15 students that were involved in that, and as you can see, 11 were successful, and 3 were not. And those are for students who unfortunately have been retained multiple times, and they would turn 16 during 8th grade. So we try to accelerate and give them some really intense learning and also motivation to get to high school. So that program at HSOP again stands for High School Opportunity. And so those students who completed the program will move on to 9th grade. Those who don't will start at Mark Twain or our alternative school and then move to the high school semester upon successful completion of that program. Our high school swim school program, again, we had to package a little bit differently because of our budget reduction. And so we, for the core classes, we use DESI's credit recovery model, which states that if a student has taken a class and failed it, and with a percent that would be reasonable if they could complete the objectives they didn't master within 30 hours of instruction. Typically in summer school to earn high school credit, or just if you've never taken the class, you have to have 60 hours of instruction. So by doing the credit recovery model, it allowed us to still service a good number of students with having a reduced budget. So we did credit recovery for English and math for the first 2 weeks, and science and social studies for the last 2 weeks. And then we had a small component of a traditional program for classes that students hadn't taken before and failed, which had to go for the 60 hours during the half credit for high school. So those were electives. That was art basics, health, PE, and then ACT prep. And then we also had our online learning program, which Adoptions was the vendor that we used for that we had been using for the past 3 years. So students who were previously enrolled in that could continue their coursework through the online learning program. And we held that program at McClure High School, and it was an all-day program. Students had a variety of schedules depending on what their needs were. Julie Williams was the lead supervisor for that program. And then at McClure South Berkeley, they had a special program there, which was a continuation of their Adoptions program. So those were all students that were involved in online learning, and Mr. Eugene Simpson was the lead supervisor for that program. And our last site, or secondary, oh, sorry, I forgot I had this slide. This captures the high school enrollment and success, and you see the first 3 columns are the sites at McClure and students that were in each of those schools at that program, and the last one is McClure South Berkeley students at McClure South Berkeley. So overall, you can see there was a good number of students who did receive credit. And this looks at, the next few slides just look at each high school individually and how many students were enrolled at each grade level for that particular high school, but at the McClure High School location. So there's McClure North, McClure South Berkeley. The reason this number was smaller, that the majority of the students who needed to attend summer school did it through their Adoptions program, so there wasn't necessarily need for them to come to the McClure location, but there were a few that did. And then last there, the McClure South Berkeley Adoptions program. Another exciting thing which we celebrated an hour before our board meeting started were the summer graduates. So we have students who go to summer school to complete some requirements for graduation, also through night school. So McClure High had 13 graduates, North had 15, McClure South Berkeley had 3. One of our other sites, which you'll see slides in a moment, was Mark Twain. So there were a few students who finished through Mark Twain, but the 2 were McClure South Berkeley kids and 1 was McClure North. So we had a total of 34 summer graduates, which is wonderful that those students continue to do their work and finish. And we celebrated their graduation here just before the board meeting. So our last site for summer school was at Mark Twain. And last year we had 2 teachers there, so we reduced that to 1.5. So one of the teachers, for students that were on carryover suspension, but were behind in credits, were able to attend Mark Twain. They used Ed Options as well for online learning. And then our Missouri Option Program, which last year was our second year, we did a half day to carry that on. We had some students who weren't quite ready to take the GED test to graduate, some that needed a little more work in that, so we got permission from DESE to continue that program as well in summer school, so that was a wonderful opportunity. Dr. Mark Waller, who was the principal at Mark Twain, also was the site administrator. And this slide captures the number of students that were enrolled in the summer program at Mark Twain. And that was just the Ed Options piece. I have a different slide because for the Missouri Option piece, some students continued, they were ready to sign up for the GED, a couple of them took the GED afterwards, and then a couple are going to be ready to take it right when school starts. So that's why I had to put those in a little bit differently. And here is our overall expenditures, our budget, our actual. Like I said, that last year we spent over $200,000 on summer school, and so I was charged with having an effective summer school program, but by spending 50% less. And when I first was given that task, I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to make this happen? And I had a team that worked with me to help plan it, and it went off without a hitch, and I was very, very pleased with the outcome. And, oh, I didn't mean to do that, but you can see it was a little over $100,000, and thank you, Dr. McCoy, where we came in for our actual, we came in under budget at $97,946. And here's just an overview of the teaching staff at all the levels. So a total of 33 teachers, and our summer enrollment of students for all the programs, and then attendance hours. And that concludes our presentation. We do need the board to accept the summer school report.
I move we accept the summer school report.
It's been moved by Mrs. Hogshead and seconded by Mr. Martinez. We accept the summer school report.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
I just have a question. Due to the reduction, going to a 2-week program, do you see any major change to it next year if we had to keep the budget at the same amount? Is there something that did not work as well that you would like to see improved upon?
Well, that's because we were going for you're talking about the middle school?
Yeah.
So because we went to 2 weeks, that's why we cut out the PE piece, because we wanted to strictly focus on the core academics since we knew there was going to be less time, and we also wanted to get the coordinators involved to get very specific about what are the skills that are most important for the teachers to focus on since the time was less. So, but overall, it was certainly effective. There was definitely a sense of urgency with the kids, and so we were pleased with the outcome in terms of the kids' success. Certainly, we hope that those students that were in that program would continue to achieve academically.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. We could cut our expenses in half on the program. It's wonderful. Early education contract for developmental systems. Ms. Rouse.
Good evening. I'm here to ask your approval of a $15,000 contract with Developmental Systems. This is an organization of psychologists and licensed social workers who provide professional development and consultation to parent educators and teachers on the early ed staff.
I move we accept.
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Hogshead and seconded by Mr. Ebert to accept the early education contract for developmental systems. Is there any further discussion? Questions?
Have we used this group before, or is this a new group?
Many years.
So this is continuing.
Yes, it's a continuing connection. They are unique.
Any further questions?
Well, I'm just gonna say that I think we've talked about this, I think, before a while back, and seems very logical. Now, I'm going to say this without any disrespect to anyone who's present, but this is the very kind of thing that is in danger when we don't have the right kind of funding. And it's the very kind of thing that, that this board may be compelled to vote no, but you know, to vote against, because of the lack of funding. So, you can't, you can't sort of have your cake and eat it too. So, so I just want to make that comment because it's, as we go through this, if I start voting no for some things, it's not because I don't believe in them. It's because we have to be able to afford them too. So.
This is less than we have typically spent with this organization. Our standard contract over many years was $24,000. And it's never been higher than that, but this is less than that.
And if I could piggyback on with that a little bit, when Dr. McCoy talks about early education is who we are. I don't know how much the general public is really aware of the reports that we get to see. But the early childhood, the kids that come through out of our early childhood program, I know when my kids were young, a long time ago, the conventional wisdom was, well, your daughter's really bright, she's reading in kindergarten and all this neat stuff, but by third grade, everything's going to even out. And our data shows that the gap only gets bigger the longer the kids are in school. And so it sounds odd that as a K-12 system, we would invest a lot of money in early ed, but it really, really, really pays off. And so it's, yeah, I don't ever would have to vote against it.
Any further discussion?
I've mentioned this in the past. I don't know what we're doing to, you know, I champion what Mr. Schroeder said. I guess my disappointment lies in the fact that there's an element of being used here. You know, a lot of parents use us for this great early education program and then leave us. And I wish we would work as hard, whether we had to put a team together or what we had to do to come up with a plan going forward to do everything in our power to keep these families. Sure, you know, I'm not thinking it would be 100%, but you know, we like to sit up here and talk about all the good things. There is a dark side also, and the dark side is we lose a lot of these families as they go on through the years. And I, for one, would love to see more emphasis put on retention on these families, definitely.
Actually, we keep our families into kindergarten. And
Right.
it's pretty much the same attrition rate on early education children as it is on other students that are in our district. Every year we have the teachers ask their pre-K kids, where are you going to kindergarten? And the vast majority of our pre-K children really do come to our kindergarten. So we're glad about that.
I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is you've had them longer than your mainstream family that comes in. So I wish we could foster that because we've had them longer. You know, it's kind of like, in my opinion, I know this is probably a horrible analogy, but adopting a 5-year-old child versus having that child from birth. And that's what I'm trying to articulate here. And I'm, you know.
That we have a lot of them still left with us as graduates.
Right.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Certification statement for early childhood education. Dr. Diggs, Ms. Carlock, and Ms. Rice. Or it's gonna be Miss Rouse. There we go.
There I am.
They give me a script and then they don't show up.
I'm asking for your approval of our certification statement with the State Department that we will indeed provide early childhood special education services to all children who are eligible and meet the criteria for this service.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Mr. Martinez and seconded by Mr. Eber to accept the certification statement for early education. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Alright. Next is a new course proposal. Core Social Studies and Advanced Core Social Skills, Mr. Forbes.
Good evening, Mr. President and School Board. And tonight I would ask your approval of two new courses, Core Social Studies Skills and Advanced Core Social Studies Skills. Core 3S, as we hope to call it, and Advanced Core Skills is a one-semester course for freshmen that will synthesize common core thinking skills found within the main course content area of social studies, citizenship, economics, geography, and history. And the course will begin in 2014-2015. Core 3S provides an integrated approach to learning and practicing social studies. The new 9th grade course provides a place to give foundational nonfiction literacy skills in writing, reasoning, speaking, and close textual reading through social studies content. And there will be a 1 to 2 week post-high school component for freshmen, so they can start thinking about what they will do after high school, whether college or career, and so they can use that time to start planning the next 3 years of their high school career. Like I said, this is called Core, and we debated the name because, yes, this is referring to the Common Core. It refers to the 10 nonfiction technical standards for grades 9 through 10. And while that's true, it's also true that the core, before the Common Core was even around, we were thinking about a social studies skills course because good social studies skill instruction provides the following things that I will read that we will do in the class. Good social studies instruction would have citing textual evidence of analysis of primary and secondary sources. Good social studies instruction would have determining whether early events cause later ones or simply preceded them. Good social studies instruction would also have multiple perspectives. One of the things we want to teach in schools is democracy. And sometimes we don't vote for a tax increase. Sometimes we don't vote for prop pay. Sometimes we do. But it's good to have everyone's perspective in it. That's what democracy is about. Also integrating things like very important traditional social studies things like charts and research data with print and digital text. And also comparing and contrasting treatments of the same topics in several primary and secondary sources. And one of the big points we're going to use in this course, but also through the course of social studies, is the point of view essay, or the persuasive essay that the Common Core is asking for. And of course, the whole idea of the persuasive essay is not as students would learn to write their point of view that they've learned at home. They can write a point of view and then defend it. It doesn't matter what point they take. What matters is their ability to argue their point of view. That's the skill that we're looking for. The proposal will cost $944 because we will use materials we already have. And we will also use things like free resources from the Stanford History Education Group, Library of Congress, National Archives, and questions yet?
I move we approve.
Second.
Been moved by Mrs. Hogshead, seconded by Mr. Martinez to accept the new course proposals on core social studies and advanced core skills. Is there any discussion?
Mark, what courses is this replacing?
Yeah, good question. So it'll be a one-semester class, and it's replacing 2 semester classes, geography and economics, and current events. So now freshmen will have a little more wiggle room to take a course, and we will still, before this, we taught 6 required social studies courses, or 6 semesters of social studies. After this is 6 semesters of social studies, but it'll be 1 9th, 2 10th, 2 11th, and then 12th grade will have citizenship for the first time in over 25 years in our district. Citizenship will be taught for 12th grade, starting next fall.
That's an important point. We're looking forward to that, helping our test scores as well. That realignment, it will help. I have to ask a few questions for the sake of people who may not be here to ask this question, who may have this question or have beliefs about this. And I didn't ask you this beforehand. You're a history teacher, and I'm so glad to have you back in the classroom a little bit this week. Is there any forcing of teachings of certain things in history, such as things that may not be truthful or distorted to our history from this change? And such as, is there any overemphasis on places that are not America, any overemphasis on places that have agendas that aren't necessarily American?
I would say no, but the whole point of having multiple perspectives, of different perspectives, that we don't have to necessarily agree, but we look at things in a democratic society. The beauty of the democratic society is we can look for things from a multiple perspective. Is there of course, there is no political agenda in this, and the idea that, and I have the 10, if anyone would like to see the 10 standards that we will use from.
I noticed that most of them cited were language arts standards and not curriculum for history standards.
That's correct. There is no national curriculum for social studies.
Thank you. That's important.
There is a movement to have something like this, but it has never been adopted. In fact, the last time it was adopted was right before No Child Left Behind, and as a result, social studies was not included. And I think it's been a very big detriment that social studies has not been a part of public education. It seems crazy to me that social studies has been treated less respectful, and everything has been kind of worse than that. Very important subjects, like all subjects are, but certainly social studies kind of took a back seat. But with Common Core, social studies gets to move up a little bit.
And do we have the right to maintain local control of curriculum and approval of this course?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Got a couple new courses. Moving on to technology. Mr. Miller. Dell server system.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rich Miller, Director of Technology Services. This first item, the district seeks to purchase a server system to accommodate the new information systems. Board members have received a summary of the bid, which is from the sole supplier Dell, for $97,238.17. So we are looking for the board to authorize purchase from Dell, the sole supplier, for said sum.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Hogshead and seconded by Mr. Schrader. Is there any comments?
I just have one question, because there's, these next 3 items all fall together in terms of only a sole supplier. Excuse me, I'm not healthy. Is there something inherent in our system that there's always a sole supplier, or where is that coming from?
No, not necessarily. I mean, many of the items we have bid out. In this particular case, Dell really is the server manufacturer of choice. We went to Dell desktops with our last purchase in the spring. Historically, they're a little bit less expensive than IBM and Lenovo. We also find that we get better support from them. In this case, the servers, if we were to spec out IBM servers, are a little bit higher. But those servers that we purchased for the high schools were actually very satisfactory. And we also run our food service. The PCS Now system is on a Dell server as well that we're very satisfied with. So each of these items, I realize, taken in bulk, they seems a little unusual, but each item has a reason. These don't necessarily work together, but I'll explain each one as we get to it.
Right, thank you very much.
My question is, it seems like every month, technology is coming to us for, now if we were trading seats here, how do I say this? Okay, what if we did not vote for this?
Sure.
Well, what I'm saying is, it just seems like, and I'm no disrespect. I mean, you're a technology guy.
Sure.
We all come from different fields and different operations, different jobs. And I don't have, can I be clumsy here, but I don't have all the, it's right here in my brain. I don't have factual things from other meetings, but it seems like we're always being asked for large amounts from technology. Am I thinking you don't need it? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm kind of trying to say here is, with these times that we're facing, it's very difficult to vote on things without knowing what the ramifications would be if, it's kind of like, do you really have to have a new roof this year?
Sure.
Or could it just use a little asphalt around the chimney and last a couple of years? Because I mean, we're in, I'm taking this money crunch pretty serious, and I'm sure we all are. But I'm looking at, well over into the $100,000s of dollars through the last few months when we're not even giving our people raises, and that's what's like a ping pong ball in my head here, and yeah, would I love to replace all the computers in my house? You bet. But I mean, where does this implicate education, and where are we, and how dire is this? Is I guess.
Sure. If it would be okay,
sure.
I can speak to this particular item. So this particular item is wrapped up in the Tyler Technology purchase that we're in the midst of, and that was board approved.
Right.
When that went through the board, there was about $120,000 just earmarked saying this is money that we'll probably have to spend in order to implement the new information system. Our current system runs on an AS400 Descendant, a Power 720, and what I refer to as a monolith, with a very large and sort of old school technology server. All of the new systems that the Tyler information systems run on, they're expecting to run on Windows servers. That it won't run on that same hardware. And so in this case, they actually recommend that we run 6 servers to do both Munis and SysK-12, so the finance, HR, as well as student information systems. We actually don't have in the district enough computing power separate from our central server to run all the Tyler information systems with the specs that they provide. They're actually very aggressive. I spend time.
Can you tell the impact, I'm sorry, Rich,
Sure.
if it's not purchased? What's the next day if it's not done?
Yeah, so with Tyler Information System, as their engineers have laid out to our network people, we don't have the computing power available to us to host those information systems. It's basically as simple as that.
And what does that mean? I mean, we close down, or I mean, what? I'm sorry, I'm being so.
Sure. So philosophically,
yeah, that's what I'm.
If you were standing in my position, this is a very difficult time to be a technology director.
Sure.
Our budget has been cut 10%.
Wait just for a second.
I don't mind questions.
I'm sorry.
I never want to feel like I'm wasting anyone's time.
Sure.
That's always part of it because, throughout my history, unfortunately, I have been cursed with the ability to speak. And so everyone has to tell me, listen, maybe you need to curb that a little bit. Philosophically, it's a very difficult time. When I arrived in Ferguson-Florissant, there was a capital spending freeze and a $270,000 general fund. I came from another district that was about a third the size that had more general fund money than that. So so I'm bringing these items forward, but we are not a small district. We are a district spanning 23 schools plus Mark Twain. We've got Probe. it is an astounding thing that we do, and even if you add up the things I bring to you, it pales in comparison to what we spend, say, on air conditioning. And my argument would be between air conditioning and, you know, other things that also have to be purchased, that we actually do a very good job with the little money that we have. So we have $360,000 this past year, of which we tried to be very good stewards, and Laura Matusik would have to tell me exact numbers, but we actually turned back in some of that $360,000. And we got towards the end of the spring and said, is there anything we can do with our general fund that has to be done for students, faculty, and staff? And the answer is no. Okay, well, someone else can use that money. Now, on the bond side, we get about $1 million a year, and again,
Can I take this to a lower, 5,000 foot level instead of the 30,000 foot level? That's where you're at. This specific item is all out of bond money, which we were approved to spend bond money. So it's not out of the general operating fund, and we can't shift bond money to general operating to make the budget meet. So that's the short answer on the dollar side. It's coming out of a bond pot, which we have $6 million to spend from, and it's a part of that side. This item is a part of that side. The other ones that's on the general side, the next one is $10,000. I can't say that, but this one is good. And the impact is you won't be able to run the new system that we just approved and that the state is going to, which is the Tyler technology system. Am I correct in saying that?
that's absolutely.
Okay. All right. So you.
Could I ask then, in the future with all these bids, that we get the actual bid instead of just a summary? I sure wouldn't mind that. And also, if on everything we're spending money on, every single dime we're spending money on that we have to approve, which fund is it coming out of? Because that would really help in a lot of these questions for me.
This one's listed as bond fund
It's enumerated in that section.
in the cover sheet.
Okay.
Funding source.
It is listed.
But
Uh,
in piggybacking on what he's saying, could we then have, we start out with X amount of dollars in our budget, $6 million in our budget, this 97,000 leaves us X amount in the budget, because it does help the impact of, in all things that we're trying to vote on, how much we have left, knowing where we can go for the next year, for the whole year. This is the beginning of the year.
Right.
But that would not be isolated just to technology.
Right.
Across.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, when I do my budget for my nursing home, I have to know every month what everything, where it's going and what I've got left for the year. And that would help me in voting on this, on everything we're doing, electing and everything.
I don't know. But on the bid.
And this would be more good information. And, you know, also, any questions that come to us after we provide the information, because we send this out ahead of time, so we're always happy to answer any questions as well. You know, again, sometimes the curse of technology is a simple question comes to me and I find it difficult always to give a simple answer because these things get very complicated, but
Sure.
I'm certainly happy to expound to the point where I'm not annoying anybody.
Well, and I don't want you to feel picked on. I mean, I'm just trying to,
No, and
you know.
You're absolute, I'm at your service.
Well, and if I can take the liberty, I think this goes beyond technology. I think it's just those couple things where sometimes these sheets do a really nice job of reminding us that we've actually already approved this, right, at some level, right? So sometimes that's in there, and so that's helpful. But then also just including, obviously, the funding source, which here is supplied, but then also, what does this mean relative to budget? You know, this still leaves us under budget. This still leaves us this assumption of bond fund, which is X dollar, that sort of thing. Just that quick on here or in your, you know, on here is obviously best because then we know ahead of time. And in terms of time efficiency, I think that works too.
And generally, any items that we would bring out of the technology fund would be within budget. Now, one thing that I've
Well, let me say real quick, so clear. I'm not saying that it's in budget, because clearly we would know. I would hope if we're asking for something that's beyond the budget, that would be an entirely different conversation. What I'm saying is, where does this take us within the budget? This brings us to 50%, or it leaves us $5,000, or we have 12 pennies, and I'm glad no more. So
And haven't we asked for that before?
that's,
I think we have. Rob's saying the same thing.
I
If
think
we have-
periodically in instances, but I think today at this moment, unfortunately for you, I think we're asking more globally to have that consistently. you know,
And
so.
along those same lines, and there are several items, and not just yours, but several items that are, only one bid came in. And it's disturbing to me that, in this case, it's $97,000 for a server. I know what servers do, okay? And we have Fords, and we have Chevys, and we have Chryslers, and we have Cadillacs. They all drive down the road, all right? In this particular case, you've selected Dell, and you've only bid Dell, and you only have a single source for Dell. The possibility of bidding a server specifications, size and number of raids and all that sort of stuff, could be bid in a generic form with different providers so that we could get a comparison price. And maybe this is the best price, or maybe it's a little bit better, but it operates a lot better, and we could understand that. But when it's a single source, single price, no comparison, it makes it difficult for us. And that's across the board on all the stuff from now on. We're really going to have to bear down and make sure that we provide the public with ability and the board with the ability to make a choice. Here we're not given a choice, and that's disturbing.
On the other hand, if I could add that one of the complications of technology is a lot of times things don't work together with each other, period. And obviously it doesn't do us any good to save money and then get something that doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's, again, it's a difficult decision. I'm sorry. Can you hear me a little better now? Okay, so, certainly these are large decisions. This particular thing is a server system. It's actually 3 servers connected to a storage array in addition to switches and a battery backup. But I also put a lot of faith in the individuals who work for me. We've seen really good performance with Dell, and we've seen very difficult times with our IBM servers, and those really are the big players in the area. A lot of what we're trying to do is an economy of scale. Dell actually offers free support that we can go through and get any of our individuals can be Dell certified for repair at no cost to the district. They do online certifications, we can order parts, we can cut out a lot of middle people and make sure it's taken care of. With a lot of our IBM and even Lenovo devices, we're dependent, especially on warranty work, which causes some problems, we're dependent on third parties. We still have the choice with Dell. If we want to use Dell's maintenance, we can do so. But there are a lot of instances where we can, again, take this leverage and have our personnel make it so we have these economies of scale. And so I think that, personally, my professional opinion is that we've seen really good results with Dell, and I feel like I would be doing a disservice to try and bring something else to you. But again, I'm at your service, and we can show, just like I had a conversation, we're looking at the switches. These are Dell switches. We're typically a Cisco shop. However, this is an encapsulated system, and we wanted to be able to go to one vendor and say, okay, we're having an issue, and it's in this encapsulated system, and not have a situation where, well, it's the Cisco switch, which I've been at the receiving end of that. And actually, these switches are competitively priced with Cisco, but there's a lot of thought, and I feel for Kyle. There's an awful lot of conversation that's gone on between Tyler and Dell and Kyle and myself and others in the department to try and bring the very best product we can, and trying to do what we need to do. And the other difficulty with these purchases is we may have to use these for many years. And so sometimes the purchases that come to you might sound more expensive, but the theory is, if money is tight, we need to do it right the first time and make sure we have a product we think can be, serviced, that we can service, that we can know is supported, and will last us as long as possible.
There's nobody sitting at this table that understands more about having something in your classroom and it not working than I can guarantee you that. And on a technology level, I had quite a bit of it, both working and not working. So, but it all eventually worked, and that's not a problem. My concern is that we don't have a comparison. It's not that Dell is bad. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just that we don't have anything to compare it to. And if IBM came at $10,000 cheaper and you still wanted the Dell and you gave us reasonable arguments to do that, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. But I do have a problem with only not given a choice.
And I'd like to say, piggybacking on Mr. Morris, what you just explained, I think is what we're asking for, but I guess maybe you need, when we're spending that kind of money, we need a little more, I think is what we're kind of asking here, and what you just explained was great. I trust you and your team, and I know you guys work hard on this, and that's really kind of what it is. It'd be kind of nice to hear, we have these 3 choices, and this is kind of why we want this one, and this is why, and this is what it'll do, and we're kind of foreseeing this, and I know technology changes daily, but that kind of thing where we get a better understanding of what's going on in your world, and maybe that will even help us help you more and work as a team.
I just want to highlight 3 changes that has been stated here for the first time. One is that on single source providers, you want more than one source mentioned, which means that if it's a single source provider, that other source will by definition not be able to provide something that this one does. But just for the purposes of comparing apples to oranges, have some oranges to compare against the apples, which we can do that, but it won't be an apple to apple by definition of single source. So that's point 1. And that's the first time. That's the first time. Point.
A server there are many servers out there, is that correct?
I would argue there's probably 2.
2?
They're probably Dell and IBM.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and again, your point taken.
Yeah, right. So the second point is that you would like to have a percentage of amount remaining for every line item presented, so that you can see that 50% is remaining. That's to Leslie's point on a vote of a budget, so that if this is approved, to go from 50% to 6%, or from 50% to 40%, so you can know the percentage of budget present and the percentage of budget remaining. I think it's fine. And so that's I just want to make sure that that's
I would also like
the number, the dollar amount. We can do both percentage and dollar amount. So because
But the budget started with $100,000, we're spending $50,000, we got $50,000 left.
right.
It's simple, not nothing complicated.
So no percentage is needed. That's the first time that's requested for all items, but that's easy to do. And so that's good. Just wanted to make
And the
sure.
third item was that when there are bids, instead of just a typed out Excel file that we have here that says this, and this, we'd like to attach the
Actual
original
bid.
bids to
The
that.
actual bid.
Right, so that we can see.
Got it. Yeah,
And you can still do the summary, that's not a problem, but we'd like to see the actual bid, so that, and it doesn't have to be, if it's 5 pages long, you can put it in once and then just put in the bid page of each one after that. It doesn't have to be 25 pages long to get to it.
That's
Can I ask, and I have to ask Laura on this one, I guess, but don't we get percentage of budget spent each month in our financial updates?
Yes, on those financial sheets.
There is a file that you give that to us, right?
yeah.
Okay.
But relative, with all due respect, Mr. Schrader, relative to each individual purchase, with all due respect, I don't have the time nor the inclination to
Well,
compare that every time.
Well, and
And it's a lot easier if it's right.
Well, and I can agree with you, because if you look at those reports, they're very complex.
Right.
And knowing exactly where this purchase falls, I couldn't decipher that either.
And you're a math
So
guy.
I'm
And you're the
gonna
math
do-
guy.
Hey, I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
I talked to Laura today about her report, and it's a nasty report when you gotta go through that stuff. I mean, it's hard.
And we're hoping the new system will correct that.
I'm-
She said, we're hoping the new system will
Miller.
correct it.
Mr. Miller, I'm sorry you had to be the first batter up tonight, you know.
I'm at your service.
All right, so you
Is there any
got-
further discussion? There's been a motion made to accept the Dell server system proposal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Mr. Miller, IBM server and printer maintenance.
So this item I'll expound. So we are seeking to renew maintenance for IBM servers and printers. Board members have received a summary of the bid, which is from the district's IBM business partner LRS. It's $14,037.96. And so again, in this particular case, the district has used LRS for some time. The support that we're talking about here is partially on equipment that connects to the machine that I referred to earlier, which is our AS400 descendant, I guess I'll call it. In 2011, we purchased a Power 720. So in this particular case, we're using a system that's not used very often. LRS has engineers that come out and they assist us with the system. At this moment, they actually do the warranty work on part of the equipment. That warranty, I believe, goes for about another year, this warranty work. So in this instance, if we were to try and move to a different IBM business partner, we would actually be in a situation where we'd have one person working literally on one section of the system that's connected to another section, if you can imagine that. So in this case, we would like to at least keep LRS through it until this warranty is expired on the Power 720.
I move we accept.
Second.
Been moved by Mrs. Hogshead and seconded by Mr. Martinez to accept the IBM server and printer maintenance proposal. Any discussion?
You know, I've heard that Dell servers are actually much better.
Yeah, if we want to get rid of the IBMs, we'd be all, don't get me started, please.
That was funny.
How long
We'll suffer.
How long do you plan on utilizing the IBM server?
So in this particular case, this maintenance is for a handful of standalone IBM servers as well as what we call a blade center. So if you're not familiar with the concept of a blade center, it's a single chassis that has multiple cards in it that are actually servers, and then they connect to our Power 720 and share its storage. So actually, in this case, we're hoping to move some of our services off of these devices, literally onto the Dell systems that we were mentioning before. And a lot of this is leveraging what they call virtualization technology. So part of the Dell purchase is to include VMware, which is, I'm not going crazy with the bug. So it allows you to encapsulate a server as almost like a file, and then once you encapsulate that server, you can actually move it around logically anywhere you want. And so in answer to the question, we actually can move some of our services off of these machines.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of IBM server and printer maintenance, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Miller, membership and internet access.
So we are seeking to renew the Mornet membership and internet access. Board members have received a summary of the bid. So sole provider Mornet, $68,895. This coincides with the conversation we had earlier this year when we actually took multiple vendors to the board and selected Charter as our internet provider through the E-rate process, which is where the federal government helps offset the cost of telecommunications and internet access. At that time, I mentioned to the board that we wanted to continue Mornet for a few reasons. We can't necessarily call it redundant internet connection, but we want to have two different paths into the district to allow for disaster recovery, which actually Charter provides. We also want to maintain some of the services that Mornet provides to the district at a relatively affordable cost. Now, to bring everyone up to date on E-rate, we have not received funding commitment yet for what we filed for back, it was, I believe, in the February timeframe. So we've actually gone past our July 1 date where we would be in this funding year, but it's not unusual for us to not get funding commitment. So at this moment, Charter actually on their own would be saying we can't do anything right now. This is all contingent on federal funding. On their own, they've actually already run fiber optic across the field and back a different direction into the admin center, and is just sitting there waiting for funding. Because of that situation, part of this amount of money that I'm asking for Mornet is also, it's a University of Missouri association or organization. We're looking to increase our bandwidth from a factor of 200 up to 500 meg for the district. We're able to allow for that higher bandwidth because of the filter that we brought to the board just recently. Again, with multiple vendors that bid on that. But that filter, the previous filter was actually a bottleneck, and there were some other issues. But we're now seeing already traffic higher than what our filter would pass before easily. So we're looking to increase the amount of bandwidth we have with Mornet for the foreseeable future. Now, if we get funded by E-rate for Charter, then the amount of bandwidth that we're asking for Mornet, we can lower that amount. So we don't have to stay at the 500. So that part of this is not really an agreement we stick to. So the amount here would be, if we kept 500 for the whole year, it would be this amount. If we're able to turn Charter up in a month or two, we would actually expect to have a credit balance with Mornet, because we would then turn them down, assuming that everything works with Charter. But if you just if you go out on the market and say, I want internet access, Mornet's internet access is actually slightly cheaper than Charter.
Let me make sure I'm following you. two parallel systems, Mornet and Charter. You're bidding to continue Mornet to have a safety backup. And once E-rate funding comes in, we can get a credit to turn this on and not pay this.
Or turn it down.
Or turn it down and not pay for it.
That's exactly correct. And Mornet, for everyone's information, in case it wasn't, that's who we use already. We've used Mornet for several years, so this is to renew our Mornet service at a slightly higher speed. Or, well, okay, a significantly higher speed.
Need a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Spaulding, second by Mr. Martinez to accept the Mornet membership and internet access. Any discussion?
Will this be the first time we've had a redundancy system, a backup system? Or do we have one in place now?
Of any speakable amount, yes. We actually have a DSL line that comes into this building that we've used a few times, and then we have a cellular device that we've used in emergencies that we can connect to machines, but this would be the first time that we have additional internet access that's usable. I'm purposely avoiding redundant.
So I assume that once we have this other, we can get rid of the two that you just mentioned.
Actually, the DSL is still helpful because, well, I mean, technical reasons, but it's good to have a connection that circumvents what the district has to rely on in order for us to do testing, and we also leverage it. It comes into staff development here. Dr. Jolly makes much use of it through research and evaluation. And then the cellular device I'm talking about is helpful because in the instance of a tornado knocking down fiber, not that that ever happens around this area, but you can take that device to a building and get a desktop machine up and running separate from any of the district's networks.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Just to educate me on this a little bit, did you say we go to Charter and then we can tone down this?
Yes.
Are we not getting enough from Charter? Or can they not give us enough to where we could just eliminate it eventually?
Again, I think that there's much wisdom in having, if part of the problem now is if you have a day or more without internet, in many cases you bring instruction to a standstill. And probably the faculty can probably back me up. The faster we can make sure. Now, the cost of our Charter after E-rate is very low. We only pay about 15% of that. And if we turn this way down, again, the cost in comparison to the loss of instructional time and issues that we
Well,
might have.
What I was trying to say is, again, I work for AT&T,
Yes.
and when we do these things, we provide that redundant path.
So
So we will provide a second path that's totally different than the first path, if that's what the customer would want. And I'm just wondering, it's like putting your eggs in one basket, but it's not, because we have two different paths.
Well,
So I was just wondering what MoreNet.
So AT&T MoreNet actually uses AT&T
Right.
service.
Right.
And so we have a 1 gigabit connection that we can go up to as high as 1 gigabit coming into the building. That connection has been broken about a block and a half from here.
Right. I'm saying if the customer wants that, we can do that. So my point is, I'm just wondering, is that an option with Charter or not? They just provide one path, and so you're looking to have two paths, is that what you're saying?
Well, we're looking for two paths. We also want to not abandon it at this moment.
Right.
MoreNet is a known quantity, so it certainly may be a year or two from now, say, we have no need of this.
Okay.
I don't see any reason to continue it on, but I hesitate to say something like this today.
Sure.
Because I want to be able to come back and have not misled anyone, because I feel like our MoreNet membership is important. They provide EBSCO host and some other services that the libraries use. They also provide, with their membership fee, unlimited network support, which again, if we talk about what can we do to try and save the district money, we have a known membership cost with MoreNet that can have an unknown number of hours of, oh my gosh, we have issues with switches. And so we've leaned on them for that. So that membership is valuable to us. And above and beyond the membership, you can turn that connection way down to where that dollar amount is low. And again, now we have yet another branch out. Now AT&T provides redundancy, but we've had probably 2 or 3 incidents a year, I'd say, where we have either lost internet connection as a result of AT&T's actions or an act of God close to here, just because of the path. And that's one of the reasons why we're asking Charter to come out a different direction. But yeah, I think that logically, we need to keep looking at avenues to both save money, but I feel like we're charged with providing the best service possible within the boundaries of what our budget is. And I feel like, that's what we're bringing to you. And if we are in a situation where we've got to save, let's say it's $5,000 or $10,000 a year, then that's certainly something we'll look at. Absolutely.
Any further discussion?
Just quickly, sort of tangentially, somebody write this down because I don't remember, but you made mention of an unknown amount of hours that saves us. It might be really nice if we could know those amount of hours. That has value to it. And so in the conversation about, hey, this is one of the reasons why we go to MoreNet or whoever it may be for other services, is we had 120 or 1,200, I don't know, hours. And were we with this other organization, that would have been approximately this cost, that sort of thing. But again, that's just one more piece that helps us kind of understand the scope of things.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the MoreNet membership, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. One more to go, Mr. Miller. CIMS Information Systems Renewal.
The district is seeking to renew its legacy SIMS information systems. Board members have received a summary of bid, which is from the sole provider Weidenhammer for $46,087. So in this case, this is our existing student information, finance, and human resources, the much maligned blue screen copyright 1980 systems that we're running on. We're in the process and have begun the process of converting to Tyler Information Systems, but we will need to continue. I mean, basically, this is how we do business. All of our student information, any reports that anyone's seeing about class size and so forth, our payroll, everything is run off of SIMS right now. So this is basically yearly maintenance that we would pay to Weidenhammer, which is the sole provider in this case of the information systems that we've used at least before 2002. I'm not sure I can verify anything before that, but,
Motion accepted.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Martinez and seconded by Mr. Ebert. Is there any discussion?
How long do we anticipate having to use this technology? Just one more year?
and so this year is a year that we're both training and rolling out hopefully new servers that would have the system on it and professional development and so forth. Then in July 1 of next year would be the actually I think finance is talking about maybe June, but we will go live next summer into next year, so 2014. We want to make sure that we run in parallel with all critical systems, and everyone has an understanding of if there's a penny or a nickel or a dollar difference in payroll or any sort of issue like that. So we'll have to run parallel at some level, probably for 6 months to a year after that. Interestingly enough, though, we're doing analysis of the various modules and what the maintenance is, so we may be able to drop some off even soon. But starting probably next July, we will begin dropping those modules off until it's a very low cost, which will hopefully offset some of our other things.
Any further discussion? I can personally say I'll be glad when we quit double paying for everything. This is not the first one that's been on the list over the last few months. And, we will move on past this, and hopefully the new system will work the way it should. So, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Miller. I appreciate your time. It is 9:15. We've been here for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Can we take a 5-minute break to get a glass of water or whatever we need to do? Let's be back here, let's say 20 after.